Remember when I was talking about this news about the German companies involved in the rebuilding of Mariupol? I was talking out of memory, and at that moment, um, I had only read a translated news outlet from Germany. It turns out this afternoon I was looking for it for the subject again to know a little bit more about it. And I found out that a lot of outlets now are spreading the news, right? Including Portuguese outlets. So I just selected two. They basically say the same, just a little bit with this or that nuance. It depends on the bias of the newspaper. On the, it's not even from the bias. They can have the same bias, but ones are more, how should I say, more refined than others. So uh, I just show you this from France 24. Let me see if I can put this right here. Okay, let me try to put this camera away. Okay, and center this here. German firms help rebuild Russian-occupied Mariupol report. And then we can read, two German construction companies are taking part in rebuilding Russian-occupied Mariupol, the Ukrainian city that fell to Moscow's invading forces 2 years ago, a German press investigation claimed on Thursday. And then if you read on, it talks about which company is doing it, the industrial Knauf Group. They have a lot of workers. They have thousands of workers in Russia, by the way. And say they manufacture plasterboard, WKB systems, which produce aerated concrete, and have been providing materials for construction in the city that was almost entirely flattened during the early months of the year of the war. According to the investigation by Monitor magazine and show on the public IRD television channel. And then it goes on saying that Monitor says it has always numerous images from construction. Numerous images from construction sites where the Knauf logo appears, as well as detailed activity reports demonstrating the German company's presence in the city. So it's like they're making a case, right? You can see the tone of this piece of news, right? It's like you can see, we can already prove because we've seen the logo here and there, and it's them who are doing it. But what are we talking about? We're talking about construction. It's not like they're dealing with human trafficking or paying some other bribe to do sketchy business around, or, Okay, let's go on. So the magazine also quotes official distributor of Knauf's that's promoting a housing project in Mariupol built with Knauf products on behalf of the Russian Defense Ministry. What a sin. You should all go to hell. Productions from WKB Systems, which is majority owned by Russian businessman Viktor Budarin, can also be seen at construction sites in Mariupol. So, okay, a company which is majority owned by a Russian businessman, it's no wonder they are doing work in Mariupol. I mean, there are contracts available there, and who can censor any company who dedicates itself to construction or construction materials not to take advantage of these contracts? I mean, that's what they're in business for, right? So I don't know about you, but the tone they're putting in this news, it's a bit implying, right? It's insinuating like something evil is going on. So Knauf, in a statement to AFP, insisted it respects all EU and UK and American sanctions against Russia. So that's the worry. You see the point, right? They're worried about their, if there are sanctions, how are they helping the Russians? And This Knauf group it's a German group from Bayern, Bavaria, this southern region of Germany, famous for its nice landscapes and beer, and BMW, of course. And then the Bavarian group runs 14 production sites in Russia, where it employs 4,000 people. 4,000 people. And the joke of it, of course, they're making money, right? I think it's legitimate. I mean, it's the system that everyone beholds and accepts as the true, I don't know, way of making society work is people making money. I have a lot of criticism to this model, of course. I'm really against neoliberalism and the dominant thought of neoliberalism. But I guess the majority of people accept it, right? And so, especially in the Western Bloc. So I don't know why would they criticize this in Russia. Well, I know. I mean, I know why, but it still doesn't make any sense. So they have 4,000 people there, according to France 24. It said, and this is the funny part. It said its decision not to pull out of Russia, as many major German groups did following the invasion, was out of responsibility, in quotes, so to its employees. So the reason they haven't pulled out of Russia is because they somehow they hold in value, has valuable the lives that depend on this job, of the employees that depend on this job. Of course, what do you think? You can write in the comments. I mean, for me, it's a bit of a joke because no company does that. They are there because they make profits, and that's the bottom line. It's a bit ridiculous that when they argue this way, we have to care about these workers. We cannot just abandon them. What do you mean? Like the McDonald's did? But the workers are still there, maybe more, even working at Vkusnu Tochka. So, yeah, it's a bit of a joke in the middle of the story, but of course they are there to make money. Of course, the workers work for them because they are needed to do the work. And that's the reality of it. So, responsibility to its employees. Germany's economy ministry told AFP that authorities needed to determine whether or not the participation in German companies represented a violation of sanctions. Before, it means in this the previous sentence says any enterprise participation should ask itself at whose service it is putting itself. Germany's foreign ministry told AFP, describing Russia's reconstruction claim as propaganda. Okay, I've talked about this yesterday. The kind of propaganda, good propaganda, the bad propaganda, the average propaganda. I think this is good propaganda if you look, I'm feeding this person who needs food. So I think that's the good propaganda. Even if you have ulterior motives, and I think it's better to do it that way, right? The bad propaganda is say, we are spreading democracy. It's a great example. Spreading democracy. And then all you do is kill, maim, create havoc, create non-societies, failed states, where chaos, slavery brews. That's fake propaganda, right? So let's distinguish these. And so the case here is made, and this France 24 is actually, of all the news outlets, it's the most neutral, but still. The Portuguese one, I mean, Observador, it means observer in Portuguese. Let me try to get this logo at least a little bit out of the way. Okay. So this is a right-wing newspaper, neoliberal. I mean, generation cocksucker. I'm sorry, I use this expression. It's people that don't care about workers, don't care about the rights of workers. They care about the rights of the CEOs and the shareholders, and alike. So, and they are conservative in a lot of aspects in society. So they talk about the Knauf group here, as you can see, Group Knauf, which is a big group. And then they go on and they say, because in this article, I just want to point it out. It's in Portuguese, but I just want to point it out, a small detail. The alleged reconstruction, so alleged reconstruction, only serves Russian propaganda. And all of this is in quotation marks. And reconstruction, the word itself is in quotation marks. So they actually imply here that is just propaganda. They imply here that the reconstruction is not taking place. And I digged a little bit deeper about this. And I found that there are actually articles debunking the reconstruction, right? They show these images of, I don't know, very degraded buildings and these awful conditions in buildings, and they point them out as the reconstruction, the fake reconstruction that is going on, and the people are being fooled. They are putting in places with no conditions whatsoever. And I think, once more, I mean, last year I went to Russia. I needed to check a lot of things. I was in Donetsk. I needed to see if the people in Donetsk were oppressed or not. I needed to smell the air and touch the ground and talk to the people. So it means maybe this year I need to go to Mariupol. I think that will be the case. I've seen a lot of images which are very solid, and I've talked to a lot of people while I was there about Mariupol. And everyone claims Mariupol is being rebuilt at a very fast pace. The infrastructure, roads, schools, neighborhoods. I've seen plenty of videos, geolocated videos showing it. I mean, that's a lot of evidence. But still, I like to go to see on my own and then go to the people and say, look, you're reading this, but I've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes. So they can ask me, so when do you go to Ukraine? Yeah, I just wanted to, because yesterday in the video I mentioned that I would put the source of the news in the description. I ended up not doing it. Not because I didn't want, or not because I wanted to, I'm telling you any bullshit. It's because I'm doing it in the pause while I am at work. Small pauses. I have to do rushing things. Sometimes the internet is not the best, and so I only had time to go and look for it today, and I found a whole bunch of news in a whole different outlets talking about it, the reconstruction of Mariupol and so yeah. Back to the main point that makes me talk about this is that what is wrong with these people? They are reconstructing. It is, I mean, you can to a certain extent go to a front line, a war front line, and you can accuse A or B or C of damaging civilian buildings. I mean, Ukrainians have a huge, much bigger history than the Russians of doing that, shelling civilians. This is a fact. I'm not making it up. Believe me, it's a fact. And I've testified it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the markings. I've talked to the people. And but no, and this is reconstruction. How can you use this to demonize the ones you consider your foes, your enemies, right? It's a big twist, isn't it? And it's the more serious is when you see people that, you see, there's no real reconstruction going on. They're just sketchy business and people making money out of it, but no reconstruction. And They did zero research. They know nothing. They just want to validate their blind greed. That's all. That's all. We got to get out of this mindset. Look, if you prove me that the points I make in my videos are wrong, if you can prove me that, I'll be thankful to you. Right? I'll be thankful to you. And it's believe me, it's the truth. I don't want to be living in a dream. It's the opposite. I'm searching for the truth. And there's a lot of bullshit from the Western Bloc. I'm not saying there's not bullshit on the Russian ministries, and they have their own propaganda. Come on. We're not naive. Everyone has his own. The Chinese have their own propaganda. I mean, I'm not saying that's not going on. I'm saying that in this whole charade, this whole story of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there's a lot of lying and a lot of misinformation. And the ones that have been most caught in this misinformation and this lying has been the Western outlets. I mean, can I just name the few? You remember the Ghost of Kiev? Do you remember the Russians running out of food for the soldiers, rations, combat rations for the soldiers? Do you remember the Russians running out of missiles? Last year they only had like missiles for 1 or 2 waves more, 3 at the most. Do you remember the 80% of the Russian army is destroyed? How many fake narratives do I need to point you out to see this, right? And I don't like this. I'm not saying the other side is a saint. I'm not saying that. It's just, but when you claim that you are on the right side, when you claim that you are purity, it's the same thing when sexual abuse and all this kind of shit happens in the church, right? The Catholic Church. When they claim the word they do, it's an utter hypocrisy, and this is what we have to point out. It's the same. The Western claims it is fights for democracy, fights for democratic values. Every human life is precious, and it's all a bunch of bullshit. In many cases, in most of cases, in all the cases of external policy, to be sincere. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think. Share your thoughts with me. Remember, what I do here, I have this little studio and my phone, basically. You can do too. And it's nice to share a community. I mean, I started doing this and one of the reasons was, not because, main reason was like local reason. And I live in very small community, small town, small population area, low density population, and all the means of communication are controlled by interests or financed by this or that, and I wanted to create a truly independent channel of communication. This was the main reason. Right now I do these individual videos because mainly I just wanted to focus on like podcasting and interviews, talking to people, but I decided to make my own solo videos because I've consumed a lot of the alternative media and good media. I mean, I can name Brian Berletic, The Duran, Scott Ritter, my good old buddy Russell Bonner Bentley is one of the first that I followed. I drank a lot of information from him since 2014-15. And many others. Jackson Hinkle. You have, I'm almost forgot a person that I also know in person. Mike Jones, my friend Mike Jones, and Masha, and I mean, I don't want to miss out on anyone, but there are many. So I've consumed a lot of their information, their alternative. But I also know that a lot of these outlets do this for a living, which I do not condemn. It's okay. It's perfectly fine that they do this. But when you do it for a living, you have to understand there is a necessity to produce, to make content for consumption. You have to, if you have a platform where you have thousands of followers, you have to satisfy the thirst of these followers. Even if you don't have, or even if you have to maybe bend the story a little bit to the taste of your followers. There's nothing wrong with this. I mean, there is, but at the same time, there is not. It's like, if you have to make a living on it, somehow you have to bend over sometimes. That's what I avoid to do here. I don't want to bend over to anyone or anything. I just want to speak my mind. Sorry, I'm rambling already, but this is the main reasons I do this, and I hope more people follow me, of course. But I will never be guided by the numbers. You can take my word on this. I will speak my mind, and that's it. If I'm wrong, I will. When I realize it, I will of course admit it. If I'm not, okay, the better. I feel good about myself, and you all trust me a little bit more. Everything is good, but it is impossible to be right all the time. True. So yeah, I think it's enough of rambling for tonight, and I have a family too. I forget to mention that. And they actually are the people, the pillar that support my existence and my motivation to do this kind of stuff. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, a nice weekend. We condemned all the violence on the world. Like, of course I condemn, but I don't want to repeat the tape. До свидания.